is Jimmy, and I do a thing called the Album Leaf. I just released a record in September of 2006 on City Slang. I recorded in Seattle. I tracked it in Seattle. I had a studio called Bear Creek, and then did recording at my house, and then mixed it out in Iceland. Well, the good differences are basically, you know, just the fact of where it is and where it's from. You know, the place, what it is. It's totally awesome. The studio's great. The people are great. The people I work with are great. You know, all that stuff. The only bad thing is that I can't, you know, necessarily fly all of my stuff over there and stuff like that. So I can't use all of my own gear. I have to use what's available over there. So kind of makes for a different record when you're not, you know, you don't have access to everything that you normally use. Well, this one I basically loaded up my van with like almost everything that I owned, as far as, you know, keyboards and guitars and, you know, just everything that I had, and drove up to Seattle, unloaded it all, set it all up, and just kind of had a huge room with all of my stuff just set up. And so I would just, you know, walk around from instrument to instrument and just, you know, record this part and that part and track this, and, you know, back and forth. So, and it was, I was also living at the studio, because they have a sleeping quarters there. They have like lofts upstairs that, you know, have beds and bedrooms, and it's also like, you know, in the middle of the woods, which is like, you know, the middle of the mountains, which is kind of my thing, you know. I like that. There was like streams and lakes and, you know, just immediately surrounding, and dogs, and it was just really comfortable and really, you know, nice. And it was kind of just easy to fall into the state of mind of just recording and not being distracted by, you know, being in San Diego, trying to make a record there, dealing with friends or people or anything stopping by, you know, stuff like that. I mean, it's a good group, and it's taken me a long time to get that kind of group. I've gone through like many different, you know, things where, I mean, the drummer and the guitar player have their own band together, which, you know, which is kind of sacrificed a lot, you know, for all the time that they spend with me. But, you know, that they have fun with it, and the guitar player, you know, recorded some guitar parts on the last record, and the drummer just has fun, you know, and they, you know, we all have fun, and it's just like a, you know, it's a good time, and you know, the vibe of the band is we just really just kind of just have fun and just enjoy the experience that we're having. And, you know, it's like we feel very fortunate that we played all over the world, and, you know, all this crazy stuff like that. It's just kind of mind-blowing, you know. Or that people come to see you when you play in Paris, or, you know, anywhere in Europe, or, you know, stuff like that. So we've all been, you know, pretty close. I mean, we've been what we are now for about 4 years, and then, you know, probably, you know, 6 years, probably, something like that. Yeah, it's just people that I, you know, are friends and that I respect, or, you know, they're not friends, but we become friends because of working together. And it's just mostly other people that I kind of just respect, and just would, you know, I mean, I kind of knew Josh. I actually did know Josh before, you know. It's just kind of more that kind of thing where you get kind of, I mean, through playing in bands and playing in shows in different cities, and, you know, maybe getting bigger and stuff like that, other bands that you actually are fans of come out to see you, and then you of course meet, and you're like, oh, I love your band, and they're like, oh, well, I love yours. And it's just like, you're like, oh, whoa, I wouldn't even think you'd know who I was, you know, or stuff like that, because you were, you know, you were a fan of them, and you were so into that. And so, you know, stuff like that, where, you know, develop friendships, and then, you know, respecting their, you know, musicianship, and, you know, stuff like that. So then you just kind of say, hey, what do you think about, you know, doing this or doing that? And they'd be like, oh, totally, you know. And so that's kind of how it happens, really. And it keeps it fresh for me, and it keeps it, you know, I don't like to have complete control of my records, where it's like, it's, you know, I'm the only ear, you know, in the whole process. I like to be involved with a lot of different people and a lot of different players and parts and pieces, you know, like some guy that's also mixing, and some guy, you know, like Josh, like doing beats and kind of, you know, getting different sounds, and, you know, Paul, you know, writing lyrics and thinking of different vocal melodies that I had, and, you know, when I'm stuck on a guitar part, Drew will come in and have a guitar part, and, you know, just all these kind of things where it's like, it's not just, you know, completely, you know, they're my songs, of course, but there's so many other parts of that song that wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for working with other people. I made a conscious point to not think about, you know, I did 2 other records before In a Safe Place and Into the Blue Again, which are pretty much unnoticed. You know, they weren't, you know, they weren't really. People still think that In a Safe Place is, you know, some people think that it's my first record, which it's not. You know, I'd actually done 2 records and, you know, a huge body of work already before that. You know, a couple EPs and this and that and whatever. So. By the time In a Safe Place came around, it's like, you know, then it gets released, and all of a sudden I sold, you know, I don't know, 60 or 70 or 80,000 records worldwide, and it's just like, holy shit, you know, and I was all of a sudden, you know, kind of thrust into making a mark and being more known, you know, whereas before it was just kind of like, oh, like really laid back, just didn't really care, you know, just making music because that's what I do and it's fun. And then now that there's like a little more pressure because you're making a follow-up and like this kind of bullshit, you know, so I try to really like just take myself out of that thought that I was at all making, you know, just remembering it as like it's, you know, it's my hobby, it's what I like to do, it's fun for me, rather than it's my job and it's what's going to pay my rent for the next, you know what I mean? So I just tried to really just get myself out of that mind frame as far as thinking that I was making a follow-up, or thinking that I had to outdo the last record, or thinking that I did, you know, whatever. So I just, you know, and whatever my records are just a collection of songs that I'd written during that time period, and that's what it is, and that's why I'm happy about it, because that's exactly what it was, you know. I didn't really think about it much. I tried to push myself a little further, you know, just as far as singing more on this record, you know, where I was actually doing the singing rather than hiding behind other people, and you know, taking a stab at my own lyrics and, you know, stuff like that. So I still put, you know, little challenges in there for myself, which I'm proud of, and I don't know if I, you know, think they're great, but, you know, I'm proud of myself for like doing that, you know, and just going for it. So. I think it was definitely like, you know, when I first sang on In a Safe Place, I was really a nervous singer. Like when I listen to On Your Way, I can still hear the quiver like in my voice and stuff like that, you know. And then now, you know, after touring on that record and having to sing those songs, and even having to sing Eastern Glow, which Paul sang on, you know, like things like that, where I just kind of got more used to singing, and so now I just feel like I have a little more confidence, but I still have like, I don't have like a singer's voice really, you know. It's not like I'm, you know, like most popular people that are, you know, vocalists. So I just kind of, you know, still do it, you know. If I hear vocals on it, then I'll do it, and if not, then I don't, you know. And I still kind of want to stay true to what I did, you know, just being kind of primarily instrumental and like the meaning behind that, and also doing, you know, vocal songs for the fun of it.